Welcome to Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel. Chris Lee, joined by Chase Robinson and Jay Greason, here to preview Texas's road trip to Georgia. You can catch that one on ABC at 6:30 Central on Saturday. Georgia, a 5.5-point favorite with a 47.5-point over-under as of Monday morning, per our friends at FanDuel. Before we talk about the game, reminder, we're brought to you by our friends at GameTime SIDEKICKS, who make these lovely 40-ounce tumblers from which I drink. They have officially licensed stainless steel drinkware, all SEC schools, 350 other universities, stainless steel sippy cups, tumblers, 40-ounce bottles, and shaker cups. SE16 gets you 20% off your entire order. Anyway, help out those who help the show. They make great stuff. All right, Jay, let's talk Texas first, because I thought last we saw the Longhorns before the bye week, the offense had been, in a bad spot. And then that coaching staff, led by Steve Sarkisian, does what it does best. That's devise a really good game plan. It got Arch Manning going. It got the balls to athletes in space. And it white-knuckled a game with Vanderbilt that got interesting. My question is, what is Arch Manning in this offense, do we think, heading into this Georgia game?
Well, all right. In the macro, first, point of order. Chase, my man, good to see you. And more importantly, when we got the game time sidekicks, you can't be the catcher without a cup. I mean, you've got to have your cup on.
I know. I'm lacking today. I've got to go get it between videos.
You're gonna take one to the tenders, and nobody's gonna be you're gonna be upset about it. So is Mrs. Chase. All right. Look, in the macro, I love how you just gave Sarkisian flowers that he got Arch Manning hot. But all the previous was Arch Manning stinks. And the media overhyped Arch Manning. I think there's an equal amount of blame. And it finally, maybe Arch Manning, who had, 3 starts before the season started, if that many, and none against any type of competition of merit. He's thrown for better than 3 bills the last 2. Yes, it was white knuckle, but I think that was a little bit of Texas letting off the gas and letting Vanderbilt get back in this thing, or in that thing. What a great opportunity to have a bye week, though, before you go to Athens and sit back. Because if I'm Texas, the path to success in Clark County, Georgia, is not going to be on Arch Manning's right arm. It's going to be on Arch Manning's feet. Because the way Mississippi State had any type of success, and this is proven true with the exception of the Tennessee game, the quarterback's going to have to move. And this is not a Georgia pass rush that we've become accustomed to, where the following April, there's 3, 5, 7 guys off the defense drafted. They're all too young for that to be the case, but they're going to get there. And boys, you better get Georgia now, because they're young and they're good. So you're going to have to figure out, because Kirby's too good for you to have a statue back there. They turned Blake Shapen into a piñata Saturday in Starkville. And then the Taylor kid came off the bench, and Mississippi State found some success with him moving around.
Yeah, Chase, I was going to ask you about Georgia, because I think since halftime of the Auburn game, or really maybe a minute or two before halftime, I don't know that anybody in the league has played better than Georgia. It feels like Kirby Smart has found this thing that is working, which is offensive balance. They're running the ball well. The defense has played better. I think Jay nailed it. Georgia was young coming in, and it feels like it is really starting to round into form as we hit November.
You know, I feel like the first part of the season, in every Georgia game, you could almost predict that they were not going to start playing football until about middle of the third quarter. And from then on, it was the pedal was to the metal. Like before that, they were going to struggle. But I feel like we're seeing that now as the season progresses. Like they're strong, and we're seeing that offensively, defensively, and I was going to go there too, Jay. The fact that they wore out Mississippi State, Blake Shapen to start that thing the other night, and I think we will see more of that, because they are getting that experience. They have been in these situations. They are able to do more now that we're in November more than they were able to do at the beginning of September. So we're just seeing this team grow week in and week out. And that's what you want. That's what Kirby Smart wants. When he was going into this season, he probably thought, okay, here's our spots where we don't have a ton of experience. Here's our spots where we need to develop. By November, Kirby's got a coach. He's going to have these. That's what we're seeing right now for Georgia.
Yeah, I want to ask you guys, and I'll start with Jay. I think if you're Georgia, I'm going to look at Texas having the ball here. I think you want to make Texas one-dimensional, and I think there's a case you can do that. Texas's yards on sack-adjusted running plays the last 5 games, working backwards. Vanderbilt, 3.7. Mississippi State, 3.7. Kentucky, 2.8. Oklahoma, 4.2. Florida, 4.5. Georgia's numbers in that category defensively, we are looking at working backwards. 4.3 for Mississippi State, 3.6 for Florida, 3.7 for an Ole Miss team that runs it pretty well, 4.2 for an Auburn team that runs it pretty well, 2.6 for Kentucky, 3.3 for Alabama, 4.1 for Tennessee. I mean, you get the picture, guys. I think we know what Georgia's going to do. It's going to try to force Arch Manning in 3rd and long. And then the question is, how do they handle that, Jay?
Well, I think first down is a critical down. It's especially in that regard, and if your goal is to make the opponent one-dimensional, because it allows it. Nobody falls for play action on 3rd and 9 because nobody thinks you're going to run the ball between the tackles anyway. So, look, you're going to have to find a way to. Arch Manning's going to need to run for 70 yards, honestly. Get him outside and with him run pass option. I don't think the offensive line is going to be able to generate enough that the running backs, talented as they may be, are going to be able to line up and run through the Georgia front 7. It's going to have to be the 75-yard bubble screen to Wingo that he made 2 dudes miss in Vandy that turned into a big play touchdown on the first snap. Texas is going to have to get a couple of bigger than shock plays. I mean, like mega shock plays, like 50-plus yard touchdown plays, because as this Georgia defense is not only getting older, which means they're getting better, I think Kirby trusts the offense now to a point that he's willing to put these young guys in more risky, more Georgia-like scenarios where they'll bring 6 because giving up a touchdown, we'll just go get that touchdown back. It's a duality that Georgia's growing older in experience, and now they're growing better with confidence. And this is the toughest test Texas has had since going to Columbus in week 1.
Yeah, so I guess the question then becomes Arch Manning against the Georgia secondary, which is kind of, it leaked at times earlier in the year. There was that disaster of the Tennessee game. But since then, it's gotten a little better, struggled a little bit against Florida, did pretty well against Mississippi State. I think a lot of this, again, hate to harp on it, but it just comes down to Arch Manning and what he's able to do, because Georgia's going to ball control you. First downs, 30-18 over Mississippi State, 21-16 over Florida, 34-21 over Ole Miss. I think that's, again, the thing. Can Arch Manning make enough plays on 2nd and 3rd down to keep Texas in first down situations and keep the ball in its hands?
Yeah, and I think game flow will be big for Arch Manning at Texas. Like if they're able to come out and he's able to get comfortable, they put some points on their board, their first drive, and not having to, and not getting in a hole early and having to dig themselves out. And I feel like if Arch Manning can somewhat control that part of it, just the style, the flow, and keep his Longhorns in it, I think is going to be better for him, not having to scratch and claw and be in those situations where he is having to force it downfield. He is having to, he is uncomfortable. So I think game flow is going to be big for Arch Manning.
Let's flip sides of the matchup here. Georgia's offense has really been humming. Again, I think as balanced as anybody, maybe not named Texas A&M right now. Throwing the ball to tight ends, getting productions from your running backs in the running game. Like, Georgia can beat you a lot of ways. But, hey, this Texas defense, You got a potential top 5 guy a couple of drafts from now in Colin Simmons up front who can just wreak havoc and did last we saw him against Vanderbilt. You got Anthony Hill, a first-round linebacker. You got Malik Muhammad, a high draft pick at corner. You got Michael Taft, their safety, who I think missed the Vandy game. I guess he'll be back for this one. That would make a big difference. Yeah, I think Georgia's going to have its hands full with Texas's talent, Jay, if Texas shows up like it means it, which, look, for the most part, it has. Shut Oklahoma down. Their problem in the Kentucky game wasn't defense. Did a great job against Mississippi State. In terms of per play, that got a lot of plays in it, but 5.2 against. And then Vanderbilt leaked a little bit, but a lot of that was late. I think Texas's defense has got to show up early here.
Well, it's a very similar request for Texas to find the ultimate success and stay in the playoff chase. Is they're going to have to make big plays. And I'm not just talking about 3 and outs. They're going to have to do something that very few teams have done against Georgia, and that's create shot turnovers and uncomfortable circumstances, which has been ever growingly difficult against Georgia, because I think there's a better connection between Georgia OC Mike Bobo and his quarterback than any other combination in this league right now. And you mentioned the tight ends. I don't know if anybody's got a better tight end room than – look, Stowers is a better player than Georgia has. But with Delp, with Williams, and with Lucky, Georgia's got 3 tight ends they can put on the field. And look, man, the game's cyclical. And Bear Bryant put in the wishbone, and then everybody copied the wishbone because nobody could stop the wishbone. Well, a handful of years ago, everybody put in the spread and the RPOs and all that other stuff, and now everybody does it, and everybody practices against it in defense. Georgia's going to line up and put 3 tight ends on the field multiple times and dare you to stop them. Yeah, Texas is unbelievably athletic, but when Nate Frazier's running behind 5 offensive linemen and 3 tight ends, you better have some fat bodies up there or you're going to get plowed.
Now, here's one thing, Chase. Texas has done really well at stopping the run for the most part this year. Most they've given up per play was Vanderbilt 5.4. Otherwise, 3.5 a snap on the year. Some of that was built a little bit against some bad teams early, but they've been good against anybody and everybody. I think Texas's run defense against Georgia's rushing offense, and keep in mind, Gunnar Stockton can make some third down plays and escape when he needs to. That's something we didn't have on the bingo card for Georgia coming in. That's something that gives pretty much everybody trouble. I think Texas's ability to stop Georgia's rushing attack and keep possession is going to be a big thing to watch here.
Yeah, and the offensive line for Georgia is going to have to come ready to ball out Saturday because, yeah, they are going to put pressure. They are going to stop the run. And Gunnar Stockton will be key as well. Like, yeah, can he use his legs? Can he get out and make it happen when they are stuffing the run? When Frazier's, getting stuffed and be creative offensively to get the ball in these guys' hands, to let the offensive line make room, which we know they can. And so I think it's going to be big up front for Georgia to counter what we know Texas is going to bring.
Let's get to picks and why. We'll do our opinions on the over-under after that. But, Jay Greason, you first. Who are you taking, and give us your reasoning?
I am fully invested. Not saying it'll be a mortgage payment bet, but I will be fully invested in the Georgia Bulldogs. I expect it to be an electric atmosphere. The cold weather that is gripping the South as we record this on Monday will have moved out by this weekend. A night kick in Athens. And you have to – Ohio State's going to be a tough challenge for anybody, but Texas lost there. Texas probably should have lost in Lexington. Texas probably should have lost in Starkville. Athens is a much tougher venue than those two joints. I just don't know if the offensive line for the Longhorns is going to be able to handle this, and I think Georgia is about to – embark on a November to remember.
Chase?
I'm taking Georgia as well. I think Georgia is is playing good football right now. They're starting to get on a roll. They're starting to peak. And I think there's going to be a lot of teams down this stretch who are going to have a hard time stopping the Bulldogs.
Yeah, to me, this is game script. First of all, it's at home, where Georgia never loses unless your name is Alabama. Second, what does Georgia want to do? It wants to dominate time of possession and snaps. Georgia has outsnapped its opponent in every game this year, but one. You get one guess. That was Alabama. Texas has been outsnapped in all 5 of its SEC games. I just think Texas does force turnovers at a pretty good rate, and that's something to keep an eye on. But Georgia just doesn't turn it over a lot. I think Georgia just doing what it does, just controlling tempo, controlling the flow of the game, and holding on to the ball and being at home. I think that's good enough for the Bulldogs to win. So that makes it unanimous here. Before we give our opinions on the over-under, which again at FanDuel, that is 47.5. We remind you, we are brought to you by our friends at the Yearly Company. Get your Christmas shopping done early. Yearly Company is a Nashville-based fine jewelry brand built on tradition, designed for meaning, each piece handcrafted from solid 14-karat gold and natural gemstones, made to order or made to measure for a perfect fit, backed by a lifetime guarantee. Every Yearly Company bangle is custom sized, so knowing your size is the most important first step before ordering. That is where the sizing kit comes in. SE16 Kit is your promo code to get 100% off your sizing kit at checkout. Go to Yearly Company, get your Christmas shopping done early, and thank us later. Also, thank us for your ROKFORM phone case, which, my goodness, you need. I've got one. It is the world's strongest magnetic phone case, extreme protection, super strong magnets, rock lock secure mounting, SEC 2.5. Get you 25% off your entire order. Get the phone case and the vent clip, and thank me later. Jay Greason, your opinion on the over-under and why?
I think this goes over that. I think it's 2 teams that believe in their offenses. And look, I know Texas defensively is dominated with talent. I mean, there's no denying that or debating it. But I think Georgia is going to put them in some compromising situations. And I like the big play capability of both these teams. I just think Georgia's is more complete, is why I'm picking them. But I see this going 7 touchdowns is not a high bar for 2 offenses with this many future NFL dudes.
Yeah, I'd take the over as well, based off a lot of those things, the way these offenses are built. And look, I do think the defenses on both sides will have some success, but these are 2 teams that want to put up points. They want to position themselves into to keep this thing going. Texas trying to get to the playoff. Their game plan is going to be score a lot of points, and so I do think this is a game we see some touchdowns.
I'm going the other way. I think Georgia game scripts it just to hold on to the ball. I think both defenses have elite talent. I don't think you're going to see teams take a ton of chances. Both offenses don't turn it over. You have the issue of Texas in the punt return game, but Georgia may be the best special teams team in the country, so there's that. Give me a low score here. We'll see how that goes. All right, we'll be here to recap it later. To get that, subscribe to the channel, enable your notifications. We're here to cover baseball, football, and basketball year-round in the SEC. For Jay Greason and Chase Robinson, I'm Chris Lee. God bless you. Have a great week. You've been watching Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel.